artist, and her name is Denise August. And her new book is If I Only Knew Then What I Know Now. I see some t-shirts that are looking very, very cute. Awesome.
Thank you.
And I think she has a lot to share with us today, so I'm excited, and I think you will be too. So let's give her a hand to welcome. Okay. No, that's quite all right. So take it away.
Hercules clap?
Girl, yes. So we're excited, Denise.
Yes.
To hear what you have to say to us.
First, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank Mother Rose for giving me the opportunity to even share my life experience with you all, and just what how God has been really blessing me. First, I want to tell you all about me. Some of you already know about me, but those who don't know about me, I'm going to just give you a little brief description. I was born in the Bay Area. No. I'm nervous, you guys. I'm sorry. I was born in Los Angeles, raised in East Oakland in Sabrina Park. So I've been there for till I was like in my early 20s, mid-20s, and then I moved to Concord. That's where I raised my children. This is one of them right there. Those are my grandchildren. And from there, you know, the book talks about my life. It talks about my life, and it talks about how the things we went through. You know how we go through trials and tribulations, or how we go through, you drop out of school, things happen. But it talks about how it all winds up being a blessing. So what we think is bad is not really bad. It's always good out of it. So while we're going through it, we think it's bad, but it's not actually. It's just, we just need the strength to get through it. Myself, what made me start writing is when I gave myself back to Christ in 2007. I kept saying I wanted to help those with what I've been through. I wanted to be there and encourage somebody that don't stay in that label that you are labeled. Just because, you know, you're down and out, that don't mean you can't be successful. And that's what encouraged me to write, just to help people, just to let them know they're not alone. We all go through things, but with God, we'll get through. And my whole book is a motivational, inspirational, spiritual book. And I just pray that it blesses somebody, and that's all. It's not written to make money. It was written to help, to bless, to encourage. And that's the reason why the book was written. So I'm new to this, so please excuse me, but I'm going to read just a little bit out of my book. I'm not going to read very much because it is, the feedback that I got from the book is that it's very, it touched their hearts, and they're looking for part 2. So I'm working on part 2 right now. It's called But There's More. So, but the book the feedback that I got is that that a lot of teenagers should read this book, to let them know to just because you get pregnant at an early age, that don't mean your life ends there. You still can be successful. You still can, you know, because just because that happened, that don't mean you have to stay there, like your life is over, because it's not. And that's what this book is written there. It talks about my birth and my children. It talks about how I almost died, but how God got me through it, and that's what it talks about. So I'm just going to briefly read a little bit, and then if you have questions, please chime in on it and ask me questions. First, I'm just going to read to you the intro part of the book. And it says, this book is based on my life, on how I was living in the world. Then it will show you how God was with me all the time, and how he was within everything that I did, say, and thought. If I only knew then what I know now, that God is my provider, my father, my comforter, my doctor, my lawyer, my author, the author and the finisher of my life. He is the Alpha, the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. He is my everything. What I know now is that my life is all about God, that I am nothing without him, that he would lead and guide my steps all the way to eternity as long as I pay attention and follow his directions and wait on him. Be patient and not lead things unto my own understanding, just knowing that he and only he will not steer me wrong. That my purpose is to serve the Lord and that my life doesn't belong to me, it belongs to him. I pray that this book would touch someone's heart and let them know that you're not alone, that we all go through things for a reason, and that God and only God can help us and get us through it all. So, Lord, use me in this book because I am your servant. And that's what the purpose of this book is, just written because, you know, we all are. We all are his servant. And I'm just going to read. The beginning of the book, it talks about how God had a plan for me. It was not my time yet. And basically with this part, it talks about, in this chapter, it talks about before I was born, my mother fell down the stairs with me, and how I was born premature, and my head was not fully developed yet. So they had me in the hospital for 3 months. And so that's what this is, the first chapter is about, how God got me through that. And then somebody, when I was telling somebody about that story, that testimony, he said, wow, that makes you even more special, because how many people you know go through the storm while they're in their mother's womb? Mm-hmm. And I never thought about that. I was like, wow, I never thought about that. So that was something else to put in the book, so I put that in there. But, and I was like, wow, so, you know, but this just, you never know what God's plans are. So what I be telling people, what seems negative, turn it into positive, because there's always a reason, a good reason. And I tell people the storms that we go through, some are thicker than the other. Some are longer than the other. But eventually that storm has to end. So, but that's what this first chapter is about, that, you know, because it was not my time yet. So it talks about how he saved me in this, and how he gave the doctors and nurses wisdom and knowledge to take care of me. And I thank God right now, because now I'm here, being able to share his word with you all. The second chapter, it talks about how God was within me. And this is when I was in elementary. I'll never forget, it was in this, you know, those, how many of you guys remember those after-school programs? Remember back, they don't have them now because of budget, but back then they had all kinds of after-school programs. Well, I was in this one called Cool Music Makers. And there they taught us how to make bongos, and we sung, and we performed, and we danced, and we did all kinds of stuff. Well, I didn't know I was auditioning at Laney College. And I was, I think, 9 or 10 at Laney College. And here I am auditioning, didn't even know. And they called me one day. It's all in the book. It talks about it. I was at home, and my mom said, Denise, telephone is Susan. That was the instructor's name. And I said, what's she want? You know, I'm like, that's odd. She's calling. So I answered the phone. She said, you made it. I said, made what? She said, you got the part. I said, what part? She said, you got the part in the play. I said, okay. And I just was jumping for joy. I don't even know what part it was, but I was like, hey, because I learned it to sing and dance. That was my thing. So we had to rehearse over, I think, over a month. My mom was dragging me back and forth. It was during the summer, every day. She was doing, so we had to perform 2 weeks straight. I never forget. Well, one part, it was the church scene. And it was my mother and father's wedding anniversary. It was August 14th. I never forget. And the Spirit got into me on the church scene. And they thought I was acting, but I was not acting. They actually had to escort me off the stage. And I was jumping. I didn't even know. And my aunties and them was all there, my aunties and uncles. And everybody was there in my family that day. And they happened to see that. And they said, ooh, you know, that girl knows she could act. But I wasn't acting. So they went and got my mom out of the audience, because at that time only one parent was allowed to be on there, because it was 3 of us that got picked. So when I when my mom got in the back, she knew exactly what it was. I had no idea that the Holy Spirit had hit me till my mom told me. And that's what that chapter is about. And so it talks about that he can hit anybody at any age. You don't have to be, an adult. You can be young, and that's what the second chapter talks about. In the third chapter, it talks about the third chapter. Now it starts getting deep when it hits the third chapter. It talks about how the enemy had me, but God showed me the way. And when we was in school, we in school, you try all kinds of things, right? Because we experiment. We experiment. We cut class. We smoke cigarettes. We drink. And that's what this chapter talks about. It talks about the drinking and stuff, but it talks about how those things. It talks about how then I didn't know those things was bad for me, but it talks about now I know that it is bad for me. Then it goes into depth about how it's bad, how it can affect your organs, how it can affect your mind, your thoughts. You can make the bad decisions by drinking, and doing all those other things. And that's what this chapter talks about. So anybody has any questions? Or anything? No? Okay. So it